Hello, my name is Russell Myers, Independent U.S. President for 2024. So as of this point, we are only a few days away from the federal government defaulting on the U.S. debt. Let me bring up a few things here. So, all right. Go up here a bit. All right, so Janet Yellen renewed her warning to congressional leaders on Monday this week that the U.S. risks running out of borrowing power in as little as 10 days. Yellen contends that it's highly likely the Treasury Department won't be able to pay all the bills in early June, potentially as soon as June 1st. I indicated in my last letter to Congress that we expect to be unable to pay all of our bills in early June, possibly as soon as June 1st, and I will continue to update Congress, but I certainly haven't changed my assessment, so I think that's a hard deadline. June 15th is the date when interest payments on U.S. debt are scheduled to be made. Analysts believe that the Treasury Department would do everything it could to have enough cash to make those payments to avoid a default. Problem is that the Treasury Department only currently has about $800 billion, and the interest payment will be more than what we've got. From Moody's, William Foster, if we got past the X date, the date that the interest payment is due, all right, and where we're in a period, there was a prioritization of payments and interest was continuing to be paid, but other payments were missed, we would have to reassess at that point. Moody's said that as long as the U.S. pays interest and principal on bonds, it won't be in default even if it misses other payments like Social Security and military pay, notwithstanding the political peril. Fitch puts U.S. rating on negative watch as debt deadline looms. Ratings agency Fitch put the United States credit on watch for a possible downgrade on Wednesday, raising the stakes as talks over the country's debt ceiling go down to the wire and adding jitters in global markets. A downgrade could affect the pricing of trillions of dollars of Treasury debt securities. Fitch's move revived memories of 2011 when S&P downgraded the United States to AA+ from AAA+, and set off a cascade of other downgrades as well as a stock market sell-off. On Thursday, stocks in Asia fell as investors remained wary of risky assets due to hit the global economy will take if the U.S. government defaults. Treasury bills maturing around June 1st, the so-called X date when government runs out of money, have been under pressure for weeks and came in for further selling, pushing yields on securities maturing on June 1st to 7.628%. Yeah. So right now, if you take a look here, the Dow has been on a downward trajectory for the past week. But a part of that is that the U.S. Treasury, 10-year Treasury right here, is paying 3.8%. The U.S. one-month Treasury, 5.66%. And the 2-year 4.53%. So this is what is known as a yield curve inversion, when the interest on short-term bonds is higher than the 10-year bond. And this is an indication which has often preceded a recession. Most of the time, a yield curve inversion precedes a recession, and this is about the third inversion that we have seen in the past year, All right, I want you to take a look at this down here. U.S. debt held by foreign countries. If you notice something, this number is declining. That is an indication that other countries are selling off U.S. Treasury bonds. How the heck did that? Okay. And the U.S. national debt, 31.8 trillion. U.S. federal debt to GDP ratio, federal, 120.47. Total debt to GDP ratio, 134.12%. Now, if you combine all forms of debt that the U.S. has, federal, state, local, and business and personal, our absolute total debt is $96 trillion, $96.3 trillion. Our GDP is $26.4 trillion. So I'd call this a problem, wouldn't you? So what is this administration doing about all of this, and Congress? Well, Joe Biden is discussing with a bipartisan bill or agreement with the Republicans in the House to reduce spending on social support programs such as Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, a reduction of $1 trillion. Meanwhile, Biden just sent another $375 million to Ukraine. The amount that has been sent to Ukraine since February of last year is somewhere around $120 billion. I will remind people that Joe Biden, while he was in Congress, he submitted proposals on multiple occasions to reduce Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid benefits. So, and yeah, part of that was also making Social Security benefits taxable. Now, Biden has made a proposal to increase taxes on the wealthy and corporations, but even the suggestion that he puts forth would not increase those taxes to the level they were at in 2016. While the Democrats held the presidency, the Senate, and the House, they were unable to pass any legislation to reverse the Trump tax cuts from 2017. This is not how you negotiate. How I would negotiate, would be, I want taxes on the wealthy and corporations, after expenses. I want those taxes at 90%. Stock buybacks, taxed at 100%. Okay, that you start high to give room to negotiate, so that if you start at 90%, you might get 50%. Although I might be just very difficult to negotiate with, because I would still be pushing for more than 50%. That's how you negotiate. You don't start off with a 2%, 3%, and then you wind up with absolutely nothing. What is happening is that, the American people are suffering. Our economy is about to shut down. The government may shut down. Our credit rating as a nation may be downgraded. How do you wind up doing this? How does anybody wind up doing this? I'm not going to say that it all started under Biden, but it absolutely has not changed. He hasn't made any threats of any kind to anyone. He works with the people that don't want to do anything to fix the problem. Bipartisan legislation, bipartisan agreements. Where does this stop? As it is, the Federal Reserve is having to start to unwind their balance sheet, which is why the interest rate on the treasuries is going up. And by the way, the major purchaser of those is now U.S. households. It's not institutional investors now. It is U.S. households. If the government does default, and then the government starts, and then they come back out of default, and the government starts issuing more bonds, who's going to buy them? You can't trust that they're going to get paid out. But and that means if the credit is downgraded, that means the interest on those bonds goes up even more. As of right now, at least 15% of U.S. tax revenue is being paid on interest on the debt. 15% for the wealthiest country on earth. It's approaching the interest rate that you have to pay on your own credit card of 20%. But can you imagine? Have you ever been in the position that 15% of your income was being spent on the interest alone? 15% of everything you make being paid out on interest on credit cards, because that's where we're at as a nation. As a country, we owe more than we are making. A lot more. That's why I was showing those numbers a minute ago. There are solutions to this, but without people at the top that are strong enough to actually negotiate in your favor, it's not going to change. And we are at an extreme risk of a debt default at this point. It's hard to say which is worse, if we go into default or if they strip all social spending so much that it just destroys the economy in the long term. Which one is worse? It's kind of hard to say right now. So there's nothing that can be done right this minute by a candidate. But, somebody in office that would be strong enough to say, no, I'm not, even if you don't do this, then I'm not going to sign off on any of your little pork barrel, projects that you slip into the budget. I will a president that would say, I will line item veto every one of your special interest projects, subsidies, tax cuts, whatever. That's what a president needs to do. And demand that the budget be turned in on time. But we're not even near the new budget being submitted. All right. If you want things to change, you need a strong president, somebody that is willing to negotiate on your behalf. All right. Share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can afford it, please donate whatever you can to help expand my campaign, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a good day.